sis.
Hello.
So this is my sister Kaylee, and I'm going to be asking her the same questions that I've asked Mum and the ones that I've answered. So Kaylee, how are the current government measures affecting you personally?
At the moment, I wouldn't say it's affecting me personally too much. Obviously, waiting to hear about the schools and things like that will affect my workplace. So the parents obviously having to find people to look after their kids and things like that, avoiding using grandparents as the most vulnerable demographic. For my household, probably not really affecting us at the moment, other than work becoming very quiet because we work in a sort of a private healthcare position, so there's less people coming through the door, particularly at that demographic. So from the government specifically, I would say that the biggest sort of changes would be whether or not we go into lockdown or anything of that kind of nature would be the biggest impact on us.
Both financially and...
Personally, I think for me, if I'm not working, I tend to live in my head a lot more. Work gives me focus. It gives me something to strive towards, to work towards as well, which I love. Personally, financially is probably the biggest worry for us because we're in the same kind of job type. So if we both unfortunately are on lockdown, it's going to affect us massively. We have a mortgage, so mortgage relief would be hopefully something that would maybe go into place at some point. But I would say, probably financially is a bigger worry, particularly on anything that would make me feel anxious or nervous as well. It's going to sort of start that up. I can already feel that brewing. So it's just a fearful time, I suppose, for our household for that reason, financially maybe.
You've answered most of the questions, I think. So how are you feeling about them and the virus? It's more to do with the government measures probably for you rather than the risk of the worry about the virus.
Yeah, so for me the worry of the virus is quite strong as well.
Oh, okay.
Being diabetic and obviously my immune system is not as good. I've also got high blood pressure and I'm overweight, so it's all of those risk factors for me that would concern me about the virus in particular. But I would say I'm more worried really about how the government would fund people that are renting, people that are sort of working again in a job where you have to not work, for example, and you can't just, is it going to be sort of temporary redundancy? Is that something they're going to look at? They're going to look at helping the small businesses, but also I work in a large business, so there's also overheads, rent, and everything else they've got to pay. So how will they sort of help with the bigger businesses as well as the small businesses? Because I work in a store where there's over 56 or 57 people now working, all of which have their own, rent, mortgage and everything else they've got to pay. And it's putting everybody into that kind of predicament when we should be, not having to worry about that and just focusing about our job and moving on from there, really.
Yeah. Okay then, so how would you say is it affecting your mental health?
Other than a bit more anxiety, I'd probably say no.
No. Okay.
It's not sort of making me feel unwell or anything like that. I'm worried, but I don't think any more than the next person. It's just kind of a practicality of worry. So how will we manage again financially, or if worst case scenario, what happens? The only sort of or worsening of anxiety is probably more to do with my parents and grandparents, or our parents and grandparents. Just because it's I know, like, for example, my parents are younger, so it's not quite in that demographic, but with everything they've been through and high blood pressure, that probably worries me more.
Health
myself.
Conditions.
I do think that although I do have these things, I'm quite healthy overall, and I've got things that are in place to make sure that I'm looked after. But Nan particularly, much older and in a vulnerable condition, that I would say that's probably more of a trigger to anything anxiety-wise than the actual government or anything in that sort of area.
Any tips at all that you're using to prevent a decrease in your mental well-being?
I'm probably not looking too far ahead. So firstly, not trying to think what's going to happen next month. What's going to happen next year. Focusing on my job, going in and doing it as well as I can, as I've always done, and focus and give 100% to that. Probably still talking to everybody, even if I don't see them face to face, like yourself, mum and dad. on FaceTime and things like that, just so you sort of keeping.
This is
that,
quite good.
Yeah.
Isn't it? This is good.
Yeah, it makes you feel less alone. I think it's. I'm lucky. I've got obviously a wonderful partner and things. So I've got somebody here that I talk to every day. So that's nice. And walking the dogs and things like that. So anything that I'm allowed to do that gets me out, but that doesn't affect anyone else. Probably avoiding supermarkets at all costs.
Well, there's no food in them anyway.
Yeah, it's really sort of putting my mind into other things, play guitar, writing, poem, anything that's sort of trying not to think too far ahead. I would say that's the main thing.
Yes, very much like well-being anyway, isn't it? Mindfulness, staying in the present. So that's actually come through from everybody so far.
I think the main panic comes from when you are thinking, what happens if I'm locked down for 2 months, what happens then? But we don't know that that's what's going to happen. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with, say, SSP or mortgage relief, or we don't know that yet. So until that kind of comes across, I mean, I was a bit concerned when I saw the sort of the cases that was about 100 and something yesterday, and now it's gone up to 2,000.
Yeah.
That was a concern about how quickly that's happened, and obviously looking into Italy and France and how they're coping.
Sorry to interrupt you. There's some element of anxiety, I think, when we're checking in, because if you hadn't seen those headlines, you wouldn't have had them.
I don't think you would know, and I think when they've got their updates at 5, you're almost waiting in that sort of moment's looming.
Yeah.
So I think that doesn't really help. For me, I'm just thinking, what's gonna be said next, what's gonna happen next. So I think that's quite a fear factor, and also having the news on throughout the day. And things like that.
And really updates all day.
Yeah, exactly. So I think sort of having that ability to almost switch that off. Doesn't mean I care any less, but just that I'm not sort of constantly thinking about the things that are happening or what's going to happen. So I find that quite distracting and quite scary.
Prioritising like your self-care or our self-care perhaps over newsworthy stories, isn't it? Because they're not saying something new every time you plug in, are they?
Exactly.
Either.
I mean, I got the headline this morning, which I can't remember where it was, but said the first dog had died in Hong Kong, but the dog reading into it was actually 17. Not very well. So initially the first thing I was like, oh my goodness, because I've got 3 dogs. What is this sort of mutating? Is this changing? So I had that initial panic of what do I need to do now? And then reading into it, thinking actually, this is still a news story to a certain extent. It's sad that the dog has died, but the dog was 17, which is very unusual as well. And not saying that it did or didn't die from coronavirus, but at 17 years old, it's hard to
pinpoint
put that down to one thing in particular. So the news stories again.
And also, it's a grabbing headline rather than fact, isn't it? Yeah. Exactly.
That was from another tabloid that may not have been the most reliable, shall we say? But so that was the sort of oh my goodness. Then I was all right again after that. So, I think it's just things like that. Remembering that there still are different views and different things maybe portrayed slightly differently than what
biased. There's still biased sources, isn't there? No, that was brilliant actually. You've covered all my questions. So this is Lauren. Can you just explain who you work for, or a bit about you? If that's all right.
Okay, so a little bit about me. I work for a place called Quest for Integrative Health. We're a wellness center. We opened doors 30 years ago for HIV positive individuals. We now work with people that have chronic pain as well as addiction recovery, and the HIV positive community as well.
Lovely.
So, I facilitate a women's group for HIV positive individuals. My group is the only one of its kind in the whole state of Oregon. So
wow,
it's pretty impressive.
We haven't got anything like that here, or not in the Southwest anyway. So how is the current situation affecting, it's your service users, isn't it?
Yeah, so last week we we were limited to our group numbers, so we shut down all of our groups last week.
Yeah.
And then, so I had to break the news to the women over the phone, and they were all a little bit shaken. They weren't really, our news wasn't really telling us how serious the virus was. Our president was kind of trying to convince the people that it was a hoax.
Oh, okay.
And so it was very misleading in the media. And so the women were very conflicted. And then once we closed our group, they kind of were scared. You know, they were panicked. They didn't really know what to feel. And then once the governor put into effect that we weren't supposed to be in groups of over 250, that really scared them.
Yeah.
Because they're immune compromised. And so they can't go out into public places. They can't go to the grocery store. They can't, you know, go get supplies, even if supplies are restocked. Right now, people are panic buying. We're totally out of toilet paper. We're out of milk. We're out of cleaning supplies.
Yeah.
And this is the community and the population that we're trying to protect by having, you know, a government shutdown, essentially. Our school shut down last Friday. Okay. Originally, it was just going to be for 2 weeks, my state.
Yeah.
And now we're going to 6 weeks. And so we're trying to switch to, you know, my work, we closed doors for 2 weeks. And so all of our groups are now over the phone. So we're doing phone check-ins, which is hard because it's creating a lot of isolation for these people that have a really hard time with isolation anyway. You know, we're trying to break down those barriers and trying to create support around mental health and stigma. And this feels like it's really pushing back all of the progress that we've made over the years. And so it's been really hard on them.
Yeah.
A lot of them feel very alone.
Yeah.
Very scared, uncertain, you know. They don't really know how they're gonna get through this.
No.
Yeah.
We don't even have any deadlines like us. We don't know when it's going to end, do we? Nothing's really clear.
No. And that's scary. Yeah. That's really scary. Yesterday, I went out and, you know, from stuff that I have at my own home, I brought them to people that can't leave their houses. You know, toilet paper, water bottles, soup, stuff that, you know, they can't go out and get at the stores. And I did no contact drops just to be safe. So I would drop it at their house and they would pick it up, just to try and give that extra support so that they felt like they're not so alone.
No.
You know, somebody does care enough about them to bring them stuff that they need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just trying to go that little bit of an extra mile for somebody that feels totally alone. Or some of these people live all alone.
That's
and
the worry,
so trapped in these walls by themselves.
All
and
day.
That's very isolating.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really...
It can be very damaging for mental health.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's covered nearly all 3 questions, but that's brilliant. And because you're ahead as well, you're showing us the future. Also, the people that live alone, the vulnerable people, that's the people that are going to be affected, with their mental health. So are you, do you have any tips? What are you promoting for your service users to prevent a decrease in well-being?
Reach out to one another. The group that I facilitate, they're all very close to one another. I've just been facilitating this group for the last 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
But a lot of these women have known each other for 5 or 10 years. This group has been going on for a very long time.
Oh, I see.
So they're very close with one another, and so they're very supportive. I'm also doing a lot more of personal outreach. I'm texting these people.
Yeah.
I'm calling them. I have my own personal Facebook account, which is how we've met.
Yeah,
and then I have a public Facebook account, which I'm telling all of my women to follow me on, and I'm posting the news on there, so they don't have to watch the news. They don't have to subject themselves to that.
No.
You know, and live in that state of panic all the time. So I'm doing that. So I think that's eliminating a lot of the exposure for them.
And the continual check-in, isn't it? They trust you, so yeah. We've built that relationship of trust and connection, and I think just maintaining connection throughout all of the isolation is going to be really crucial, really crucial for this. Yeah. So the sort of platforms of Facebook, that's the one you're using mostly for your service users.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Yes. I mean, I think most people have Facebook. I don't want to say all people have Facebook, but most people do. And I think a lot of people are spending their time on Facebook right now.
Well,
you know?
So we've had
it's a good place to post things.
So we've had like groups set up in the local community, which you're doing like the outreach. So the elderly people are going to the supermarkets for them and dropping off groceries, and that's what you're doing as well, isn't it? So, yeah, brilliant.
I think that's so important to be community minded.
Yeah.
Because it's the vulnerable communities right now that we're trying to protect. Like, you know, I'm 30 years old and I have a perfectly functioning immune system. So I'm able to take those kinds of risks to go to the grocery store for people, you know, and I don't mind doing that.
No.
For the people that don't mind to take those risks or are healthy and can do that, I really would recommend going that extra mile for those who can't, because it's a community problem. This isn't just one person's issue. This is becoming a global issue.
Well, it is,
So,
you're in America. I'm in England, and we're talking about it.
Yeah, this is global.
How are you supporting your own mental health?
Self-care is huge, right?
Okay,
so if you're caring for other people, you have to definitely care for yourself. You know, they tell you on airplanes, put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yeah,
so,
very true.
You know, at night, I like to just veg out and watch TV just to take my mind off of it. You know, I have a daughter who she's kind of struggling, not understanding, like, mommy's home, but I'm working. Right? Yeah. So at night, it's really about family time for us. Yeah. And so we'll just watch shows together and snuggle, you know, taking a nice bath with Epsom salt and just relaxing.
Yeah.
You know, doing things like that for myself is also really important for me.
And you're the stability for her as well, aren't you? If you need to be strong as well for her as well as your community, really.
Right. And showing her as well that what I'm doing for the community and how impactful that is, I think is really setting a good example for her to understand just how impactful one person can be for the greater good of the community as well.
Yeah.
So that gives me a lot of, I think, motivation to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, my self-care is usually a lot more than what I've been doing lately.
Yeah.
But right now I can just do a little bit for myself because doing more for everyone else is kind of more important at this point.
And we're all restricted, aren't we, with some of the things we might do for self-care as well, I think. So
right.
Yeah, well, we're following you because it's Friday that we shut down too. So thank you so much for talking to me. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah.
I'll
Stay safe.
Yeah, and I will keep in touch with you and let you know, and links and whatever, all right? So just if you're going live on a website and there's YouTube been mentioned, that's all good?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, brilliant.
Let me know.
All right, bye for now. Bye.
Bye.